So the first thing we're going to talk about today is effective interviewing skills. And what I want to kind of talk about is two different kinds of interviewing. So the first interviewing we're going to talk about is virtual interviewing, because a lot of times people are they're doing virtual interviewing now because of COVID, because sometimes it's just a little bit easier. And then we're going to go into actually not the long, but the in-person interviews. So has anybody here, any of y'all three, have y'all done a virtual interview yet?
Yes, sir.
You have, okay. So how did you feel about the virtual interview?
Honestly, it was very different from being online. It was kind of like, I mean, I can say it's kind of a little weird because you're on the video camera talking to them, but it's a different experience because you get that face to face instead of
Yeah,
being like actually in a person's face, talking to them, getting their vibes over the
absolutely.
phone.
What do you prefer? You prefer in person or virtual?
I guess either or is now kind of the new, but I definitely prefer like in person because you get more of an answer, a straight direct contact.
Yeah, and that's actually that's perfectly reasonable. Like, and that's just sort of what we've gotten used to. Was in person interviews, and then all of a sudden they kind of had to they put a little wrinkle, a little wrinkle kind of got into it with COVID and everything like that. But so the thing with virtual interviewing is that there are some definite advantages to virtual interviewing. There's some things that you can do to make it work to your advantage, and we're going to talk about those a little bit. And good morning, Shantasia. Um, we're
Good
uh, we're
morning.
going to talk, we're going to talk about those a little bit, and then we're going to talk about again the traditional in-person interview process. So let's go ahead and get started. So so why are companies doing virtual interviews? And basically, it's to, again, social distancing, and also they can kind of maximize their time and their resources with those virtual interviews. They can say, we don't have to worry about a person trying to find the place. We don't have to worry about, any of that kind of logistical stuff. All we have to do is set up a camera, set up a computer, and we're good to go. Good morning, Brandisha. And so that's sort of why they're doing that, why they're saying, hey, we're gonna do this stuff over the internet. So let's talk about combining the traditional interview tips and then sort of tips that are specific to just virtual interviews, and we're going to kind of see if we can't come up with the best of both worlds. So the first thing, there's an app for that. So you want to download and get familiar with pretty much these are the main programs. And I'm not saying you have to become an expert in all these, but definitely find out what program they're going to be using to do the interview on. That way you can have that ready to go. So whether it's Skype, whether it's, I mean, if you're doing this here, you already have WebEx, so that's a bonus. They're most popular. They'll do them on Skype or do them on Zoom. But I have known a few to do Google Hangouts. I don't have much experience with Microsoft Teams, and of course, have experience using WebEx. But what do you want to do? You want to download those. You want to get registered. You want to do everything you need to do to get the app up and running. You want to test your internet connectivity. If you're like me, and you live out in the country, if you live out in the middle of nowhere, the internet can sometimes be really spotty out there. So if you have to, if you're afraid that your internet's going to cut out in the middle of an interview, one thing you can always do, you can possibly go to the library. Libraries will generally have a place, possibly like a conference room or things like that, where you can go and sit and do the interview, and you'll have pretty strong Wi-Fi there. I know specifically, I know the Lafayette Library has actually a lot of little rooms like that. You can also go to your local workforce office. If you go see Jada, go see Jonathan, go see Joe, go see Aisha, go talk to your case managers and say, look, I want to do an interview. I have an online interview coming up, but I'm afraid my internet connection is not going to hold up. Can I come here? And I'm sure they can find you a space, find you an office, an empty cubicle, someplace where you can sit down and have that interview. So just make sure your internet works, make sure your microphone works, make sure your camera works. Just get all your tech stuff out of the way, all the technology stuff, make sure that it's ready, and then also check for updates. I would check for updates probably the morning that you get up for the interview. Get up, go pull up your app, make sure that it doesn't need to be updated, because you don't want to go and start doing the interview and then all of a sudden they say, oh well, you've got to do an update, and then the update could take however long, and you may end up being late for your interview. So you want to go ahead and check those for updates and get everything ready to go. And you also want to dress appropriately for the interview. Okay, it's just like an in-person interview. Just because you're at your house doesn't mean that you can, dress in your pajamas for the interview. I mean, no one's going to stop you, but you're also probably not going to get that job. You want to dress like you would for a face-to-face interview. Why? Because looking professional and polished is going to give you an extra boost of confidence. If you get up, do your hair, do your makeup if you have any, if you wear any, get up, make sure you look nice, make sure your clothes are pressed, make sure you have a business, an appropriate, business type outfit. It's going to make you feel good. I've been doing theater since I was a sophomore in high school, so for a long time, been close to 50 plays. And there's a lot that goes into doing theater. You learning your lines, of course, but then figuring out how your character talks, figure out how your character walks, figure out, all the other different things to kind of help make that character come to life. But in the final, like the most important thing for me is the costume. Like once you put the costume on, it's easier to sort of like get into character. So it's the same way with job interviews. You dress appropriately, you're dressing for the part, and you're automatically going to feel like you belong. It's going to give you that boost of confidence. Avoid wearing bright colors, hats, loud or dangling jewelry, or distracting makeup. Why? Why do you think that is?
They might feel like you're looking for attention.
Maybe, yeah, but even an even bigger one than that. When you're interviewing, do you want them to
Distracting.
focus on? Yeah, distracting. Absolutely. Do you want them to focus on your earrings, or do you want them to focus on what you're saying? Do you want to, what are you wanting to draw attention to? When they get off the, when you get off the interview, you don't want someone thinking, oh, they had really nice jewelry, but they didn't really, you know, remember what all you said. So you want to just again keep it simple and keep it professional looking. That way they're focusing on all the good stuff that you're saying. So you want to prepare your environment. Okay, the big thing is make sure there's nothing cluttering up the wall behind you. Make sure there's no, make sure you don't have any stuff piled on top of things or distracting artwork or just, anything like that in the background. You should just have a nice empty blank wall behind you. You want to turn off your TV, your radio, any other background noises that are going to interfere with the interview. Very important. You don't want, nobody wants to hear somebody else's TV show going in the background while they're trying to interview someone. And then you want to avoid a guest appearance. Make sure your pets, your children, or your roommates are not going to interrupt your interview. If you can, keep that door closed. Okay, keep the door closed. If you have kids, hopefully somebody can come and just kind of keep an eye on them while you do the interview. Try to make that happen. I've got a really cool dog that likes to hang out with people, but my interviewers are not interested. The interviewers are not interested in seeing my dog. They're probably not interested in seeing yours either, or your cat, or whatever pet you may have. So, if you live with people, hey, look, guys, look, folks, I'm doing an interview. I need y'all to kind of stay out of this room for a little bit if you can, so that I can nail this interview. So just prepare that room. You're going to be prepared. Your devices are going to be prepared, and your room is going to be prepared. You're going to have a nice space to where you can just really sit down and concentrate on nailing that interview. So there's some benefits of virtual interviews. There's some things that you can do for virtual interviews that you couldn't really do in a in-person interview. One thing you can do is write sticky notes. Okay. Get you a bunch of sticky notes and write down things that you want to remember to say. Write down accomplishments that you have. Write down certifications that you may have. Write down anything that you think might be relevant. And if you feel like you're going to get nervous and forget, write it down and then stick that sticky note on the wall in front of you, behind your camera, behind your computer. That way you can refer to them in the moment if you need to. You want to boost your camera to eye level, okay? Sometimes in a job interview situation, you may end up sitting down, like you might be down lower than the person, and it kind of gives them that almost that feeling of like to have something over you. So boost that camera to eye level. Don't be nervous. Try not to fidget. Try not to say and ah. Just, relax. Just relax and know that you belong there. And then be happy and send good vibes. Okay, we talked yesterday about nonverbal communication. Smile. Eyes wide open, smile, be happy to be there. Okay, because you're being interviewed, and this is a big step. And hopefully this is going to lead to a job. So be sure and smile and communicate that you are the type of person that they want to hire. And, just kind of make that happen. At the end of the interview, first of all, don't panic. Okay? Don't panic. You're almost done. Okay? You want to be polite, but you don't want to be overly salesy, right? You're not a used car salesman, okay? You're trying to continually push for the job. You want to restate your skills, and you want to show that you're interested. What's a big way that you can show that you're interested? What's like the main way you can show that you're interested in a job interview? Anybody?
Saying that you don't want to make a career out of that job.
Okay, that possibly. Okay, that's one thing. But I'm thinking of something big, like something like even major. But yes, you can definitely stress, hey, I'm here for the long haul. But what's a way you can demonstrate that? Anybody? You want to ask questions. Okay. What are some questions you can ask an interviewer? What are some things you should ask an interviewer? Come on, y'all, help me out here. What are some things you should ask an interviewer in an interview situation?
You could ask them, like, what are the company's values? What's your favorite part about working at the company?
That's a great question. Absolutely, that's a great question. What do you like about working here? 100%. You're getting their opinion. People love giving their opinions. What else? What are some other things you could ask?
What does success look like in this position, and how do you measure it?
Yeah. Are you reading my notes?
I'm not reading the notes.
I
I
know.
just know because working and having a job, like most interviews, you want to know, like, okay, the hours, the pay, and everything. But honestly, you'd be like,
Yeah.
what made you choose this job? You're a manager.
Yeah.
Like, how far did you make? How far did it get you to get to the spot you wanted to? Like, do you like this job? Like, would you offer it to anybody else, including myself? You wanna work there and be confident and want to still be in that interview. You want to have a long-term goal with this job. You want to move up in life. You don't want to just stay where you're at. So if it's like, if you don't like the job, why should I work here? Just because you tell me you're
Yeah.
hired,
And you definitely don't want to ask them like that, but no, but like, hey, if you don't like this, but no, no, absolutely no. I understand. Yeah, 100%. That's a perfect answer. I'm gonna get you to come teach the class. I'm gonna take the day off. Get you in here. Yeah, that's a perfect answer. What does success look like to you? What do I need to do in order to be successful? I managed multiple video stores over 2 different states. I hired a lot of people. If anybody had ever asked me that question, I might have fallen out of my chair, and then once I got up off the floor, I would have hired him immediately. What does it take to be successful? How do you view success? What will my performance be judged on? Other stuff you can ask, when will I hear back? things like that. But Amaya, I mean, that was a great answer. And then another thing you can do is write a thank you note after the call. No one does this. I never got a thank you note after an interview. But whenever you initially contact the employer or at some point during the interview, ask them for a business card. That way you will have their name and their email address or their physical address, and you can write them a quick thank you note addressing them by name. Dear, Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, thank you for taking the time to interview me today. I appreciate getting the chance to, explain why I feel like I could be a great candidate for this, for this position. Just a quick little thank you note. Have somebody proofread it, make sure it's grammatically correct, make sure there's no spelling errors, and then then you should be good to go. And then you just wait for the call to roll in, saying, "Hey, you got the job." All right, because that's what's going to happen. Because if you go in there and you're confident and you show that you want to be there, you show that you have long-term aspirations, you close that out strong, you send them a thank you note, you're going to stand a really good chance of finding and of keeping that job. So let's take a look now at the in-person process. Okay. So we're gonna skip the. I know we're having some connection issues, so we'll skip that that video. So let's talk about the interview, the actual in-person, face-to-face. We're in the same room, breathing the same air interview. Now, before we kind of deep dive into this, I'm going to give you all some of the best advice I think I can give you. Okay, I'm going to give you the key to putting yourself on the same level as the person interviewing you. Does anybody here ever get nervous before a job interview? I always ask this and nobody ever says yes, but I know people get nervous before job interviews. Does anybody here, it's time to go in and you get a little nervous or you get a little bit worried before you go into it?
I feel like I get a little nervous because I'm like, I don't want to mess up what I have to say. I want to be on point with what I say. I want to get it out clearly. I want him or her to understand me, and I want them to understand also like what they're talking about.
Yeah, and that's fine. And look, and it's okay to be a little nervous. And for those of you that might get nervous, but you're not admitting it, that's okay too. I want to give you a piece of advice that you can use for the rest of your life when it comes to job interviews. Okay. A lot of times we feel like the person interviewing us is out to get us, or we can feel like, oh, they're out to prove us wrong, or they're out to trip us up, or they're out to cause us to make a mistake, or the interview process can feel like a minefield. And the thing is, that's just not true. I never once interviewed a person hoping that I wouldn't be able to hire them. I never once interviewed someone saying, "Oh, hey, well, I'm just going to interview this person just because I want to mess with them because I want them to fail." It's just not true. Okay. You're being interviewed for a position for a couple of reasons. One, the company needs you. If they didn't need you, they wouldn't be talking to you. Two, the company wants to hire you. If they have taken the opportunity to call you in for an interview, they want to hire you. You walk in there already with them wanting to hire you. And all you have to do is not prove them wrong. All you have to do is prove to them that you are what they think you are, which is a great choice for this job. Okay? They're not trying to trick you. They're not trying to trip you up. They're literally there to try to fill a position and get on with the business. And it's your job to go in there and make them feel confident about you. When you realize that they need you just as much as you need them, it levels out the playing field. It sort of equalizes the power in that situation a little bit, at least up front. Now, ultimately, they do have all the power in the relate. Remember, I said life's about a series of relationships. This particular relationship, the interviewer has sort of the power in the relationship, but they still want you. They still want you to come to work for them. And if they didn't, they wouldn't have hired you. So go in knowing that you're on equal footing, and go in and feel confident that you can nail this, and that you can go in and be a difference maker, and show them that in the interview. So what are we going to talk about in the interview process? We're going to talk about dressing for the interview. We're going to talk about body language. We're going to talk about questions to expect, things to avoid, and some general tips. So first thing, dressing for the interview, just general tips for everybody. First of all, comfortable clothing that you don't need to adjust. Okay. A lot of times we'll buy a set of interview clothes. These are the clothes I'm going to wear to a job interview. And that's fine. You can do that. But you don't want the first day that you wear those clothes to be the day that you go in for the interview. You want to try them on at least a few days before. Make sure the clothes fit. Double check, make sure they look good on you. Make sure you can move freely in them. Make sure they're not binding up anywhere. Make sure that you're not having to pull or adjust, or, just make sure that you're not going to be fidgety when you sit down wearing these new clothes. Okay. Just make sure that it's all good, and make sure you're comfortable, because interviewing can be an uncomfortable situation already, and you don't want to add to that with clothing that makes you uncomfortable. Okay. Avoid bright, flashy colors and patterns. We talked about that earlier. With the loud jewelry and the distracting clothing, we want them to focus on what you're saying, not what you're wearing. You want to make sure you're cleaned and pressed. Okay, make sure your clothes are clean. Make sure you don't go in there looking like you sort of just rolled out of bed. Okay, if you're like me and you don't like ironing, there's a couple of options. There's a wrinkle releaser that you can buy at the store. Before you get dressed, spray a little bit of the wrinkle releaser on your clothes, throw it in the dryer for a little bit, and it should kind of make things a lot less wrinkled. There's these things you can actually throw in your dryer. They're basically a little ball, and you fill them with water. You can throw them in the dryer, and it will actually steam your clothes while it's on. You can even do an old trick, put whatever's wrinkled in the dryer, and put a wet washcloth in the dryer and turn it on, and it'll get rid of the wrinkles. If you're like me, you don't like to iron, there you have options, but don't go to the interview wrinkly. Right? Keep jewelry to a minimum. Again, same thing with not being distracted. You don't want to be a distraction. Oh, excuse me. You want to cover your tattoos. Now, this is just good general interview policy, because you're not going to know offhand what a company's policy on tattoos would be. So if they're in a place, where you can cover them up, if they're on your arms, wear long sleeves. If you're in a more visible place, your neck, your face, your hands, you want to use some makeup and cover those up until you find out what the policy is for tattoos. This is becoming less of an issue as sort of a younger generation kind of moves in and becomes in charge. But there are still, there's still a lot of people out there that are going to judge you based on your tattoos. And whether that's fair or not, it just is what it is. And you want to cover your bases. You want to keep those covered up until you find out, that you don't have to. Practice good hygiene. Again, you don't want to walk in there dirty. Make sure you're clean. Make sure teeth are brushed, etc. No heavy scents. Why? Why shouldn't you walk in there smelling like the perfume aisle or the deodorant aisle at Walmart?
The person may have allergies.
Yep. Who was that? Was that Jerome?
Evan.
Evan. Okay, yeah. Evan, you got it. You got it right off the bat, Evan. Person may have allergies. I was interviewed one time, and before the interview, someone had told me, said, "Hey, look, we're requesting that you don't wear any heavy scents. One of our interviewers is allergic." I got the job, and then I found out exactly how allergic she was. We were talking, and she said that, she can't be around like Lysol air freshener or anything like that. Like I could like put her in the hospital. So you're not going to land a job if you put an interviewer in the hospital. Okay. Wearing deodorant's fine, but no, like, don't, hose yourself down with, perfume or body spray. Okay. So we're going to go now. We'll split up interview attire for women and then interview attire for men. So interview attire for women, you want conservative patterns and colors. Again, it's about being taken seriously. It's about not being a distraction. Longer skirt or dress slacks, whatever you are comfortable wearing. If you are a slacks person, well, then wear some slacks. If you like skirts or dresses, then wear a skirt or a dress. Whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable, and that looks good. So just kind of wear whatever you're comfortable in. You want to avoid low necklines. You don't want to over accessorize. Again, that's just kind of too much jewelry. Same reason as some of the other things. You don't want to be a distraction. You want to wear neutral makeup and nail colors. Low heels, unless you're good at walking in high heels and you like high heels. Then wear high heels if that's what you want. But a lot of times we're just trying to look nice and then be comfortable. So I suggest low heels. You want to avoid heavy perfumes. Again, the same reason we said before. You don't want to put your potential boss in the hospital with an allergic reaction. Okay. So interview attire for men. You want to wear neutral or dark colors. Okay. Again, no flashy colors or patterns, nothing bright, nothing crazy. Does that mean you can't put your own spin on it? No. Does that mean you can't put your own style on it? No. Does that mean you can't be a little memorable? No. I mean, you can, one of the things I wear for an interview, I have a red shirt with a yellow tie and a black vest, and then I have a little tie tack that's a mustache. Just kind of a little humorous little kind of thing that shows my personality a little bit. Can you show your personality in your clothes? Yes, absolutely. But you just want to make sure that it's not over the top. That it's not, you're not going in there looking like a cartoon or looking like somebody who's, just, really over the top. So neutral or dark colors. You want to wear a collared shirt. Guys, no t-shirts. No t-shirts to job interviews. Unless, I would say maybe if you're like doing something outdoors or welding or something like that, that may be okay. But generally, you want to look professional. If you're applying for something like a welding position or something like that, and they may ask you to do a welding test, you can actually bring a change of clothes, your welding clothes. And, if you have to do the welding test and you say, excuse me, I'm going to go change real quick and just, go and change those clothes. But for the actual interview, you want to try and have a collared shirt. You want to go business casual or business professional? What's the difference? Anybody? What's the difference between business casual and business professional?
Business casual may be like jeans, and business professional would be more like slacks.
Okay, so you definitely don't want to wear jeans to a job interview. But that was a good answer. That was a good try. Thank you. I appreciate the input. You definitely don't want to wear jeans. Okay, even nice jeans, you don't want to wear that. That's a little bit too casual. Okay. You want to wear slacks, either khaki or black or gray. So your business casual is basically what this gentleman here in the picture is wearing, except for the shoes. it looks like he's wearing tennis shoes, and that's not really business casual. But if he had some dress shoes on, this would be an acceptable look for business casual. Okay. Business professional, he would have a sports coat on, and he have this top collar button with a tie, and that would sort of be a business professional. Okay. Business professional is basically a sports jacket and a tie. Okay. Kind of gauge, the job that you're going after. And I always say dress for one level above the job that you want. So if you're going in for a cashier job, look at how think about how the shift leader would dress. Or if you're going in for shift leader, think about how the assistant manager would dress. Things like that. And dress one level above. Okay. You want to keep your hair short and neat. Your belt and your shoes should match, even though he's got a brown belt here. It looks like he's got some black part of it as well, and it matches his shoes. Not an exact match. I'd get a single color belt, but that's just me. I get a single color belt. If you're going to tuck in, also, you tuck in your long sleeve shirt into your pants. You need to make sure you have a belt. If you're not going to tuck your long sleeve shirt into your pants, you probably shouldn't be wearing a long sleeve shirt. If you're wearing one that's professional looking or business casual type dress shirt, you definitely want to tuck that in. Okay, your belt and your shoes should match. And then this is something that you might not think is important, but you empty your pockets. When we go to sit down and we've got keys jabbing us in the leg, and we've got, our phone bulging, sticking, kind of in our pants, and we got our wallet, and we have all kind of stuff, and we just sit down, and it's just like it's a lot, and you can feel a little awkward. It feels like you're concentrating on what's in your pockets and not what's in front of you, which is the interview. What I always tell folks is, whenever you park, get your car key off your key ring. That way you have it. Put your key ring, your wallet, phone, put them in your glove compartment. Okay, they'll be there when you get back, and that way they're not a distraction, and you're not worried about them like sticking you in the leg whenever you sit down or things like that. So just empty those pockets, go in there. The only thing you should have in your hand would be you could probably put your one car key in there and have your folder with your resumes in it. Okay, be ready to go. If you empty those pockets, do that. So now, we talked about body language yesterday. We won't go too much into it, but whenever the employer comes out to interview you, you want to look ready. You want to be ready. You want to be the person on the right. You do not want to be the person on the left. Okay. This is what we call nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication, also known as body language. But nonverbal, it means we're not using words. This is a form of communication that we express just with our body. And through the way that we're sitting, through our facial expression, people will be able to pick up on what we're feeling and how we're feeling. This is something that you have to purposely do. Okay, you have to sit and go, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I'm not gonna be distracted. I'm not gonna be looking off in the air. I'm not gonna wad up my resume. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna hold my resume in my folder, and I'm gonna look up, and I'm gonna make eye contact with people, and I'm going to I'm gonna engage. I'm gonna engage people. And that body language says a lot. That body language on the right says, I'm ready to go. If I came out, these are 4 different people. No matter who was next, I would want to interview the one on the right. Okay, because she looks like she's ready to go. So be very careful with your body language because it can betray a lot. Okay. Again, that nonverbal communication. Let's talk about eye contact. Does anybody here have difficulty making eye contact? No, everybody's okay with eye contact? Well, look, if you're not, or if you find that you're having problems with it in the interview, instead of looking someone in the eye, you want to look at them right in between their eyebrows. right between their eyebrows, sort of right above the bridge of their nose, and it looks like you're looking in the eye, but you're not, and you're not getting sort of that some people can be intimidated by looking someone in the eye. So if you look right in between their eyes, not actually in their eyes, it looks like you're making eye contact, and it makes you look more confident. Okay. So let's talk about some general tips for answering interview questions. So the first thing, you want to be honest. You want to be honest, be honest, be honest, be honest, be honest. Okay. Do not lie during your job interview. Do not lie about your qualifications. Do not lie about whether or not you have been convicted of a felony. Do not lie about anything, because if you lie and get the job and then it comes back and they find out that you lied, you're going to be fired, and you're going to be right in the same situation you were in. Okay. You need to be honest. Answer questions honestly. Okay. They're not going to hesitate to fire you if you answer dishonestly. All right. This all goes back to having integrity, what I talked about yesterday. Have that integrity. Be a person of value. Be a person that's trustworthy. Be a person people want to be around. Okay. And be honest. You want to be specific. Okay. When answering interview questions, you want to provide examples or detailed answers. Okay. You don't want to just say yes or no or one-word answers. Okay. If you say, I'm a hard worker, okay, anybody can say that. Talk to me. Tell me your story. Tell me what makes you a hard worker. Be specific. Don't just yes or no. I remember someone I interviewed one time for one of the video stores, and I was real big on customer service, and I talked a lot about it during the interview. And the guy was like slumped down in his chair, almost like diagonal in his chair. And he had his head down. He wasn't making eye contact. And anytime I asked him a question, he would answer with customer service. Okay. A customer walks in, they're looking for a movie and they can't find it. How do you handle it? Customer service. Okay. If someone has a late fee on their account and they say they returned the movie on time, how would you handle that? Customer service. Okay. Well, all right. Well, that's a great interview. Thanks for coming in. Right. I can't do anything with that. Be specific. Be engaged. Be prepared. Okay. You show up with multiple copies of your resume in a folder. Why multiple copies? Because you don't know, you might have a panel interview. Has anybody ever been interviewed by more than one person at a time?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So how did you handle that? What was different about that as opposed to just one person?
Well, the first interview was just like I came in, I talked to the assistant manager. And the second time I came in, it was the second assistant manager. Then it was the GM, and then it was director of the corporation's office. And
Wow,
yeah.
And they just kept adding people, like one of those Russian nesting dolls.
Right.
Every time you open it up, there's one more underneath. Did you get the job?
Yes, I did. I felt really good. I mean, I was like, if I passed the first interview, I'm going to the second. I need to pass the second to go to the third. So
yeah, generally, look, and just another little tip for y'all too. Something to think about: if you get called back for a second interview, you've probably got it in the bag. They're not going to waste their time calling someone back for a second interview unless they really want you. Also, if they have you go take a drug test, you can almost count that as long as your drug test comes back clean, that you're going to get the job, because the company's not going to spend money on drug testing someone that they don't want to hire. Okay. So that's just something to think about. Yeah, with multiple people. So there could be interviews with multiple people. So make sure you have 4 or 5 copies of your resume. Make sure you have one for yourself so you can reference it while if someone's talking about it. Also do some research on the company beforehand. I think Amaya was talking about that earlier, like finding out what their company's about. Are they involved with any charities? Are they, what do they do for the community? You can bring that up in the interview. Hey, one of the reasons I really like, this company is because you do this for the community and things like that. Okay, go in armed with knowledge. Knowledge is your friend. Know as much as you can about the company and about the position that you're going for. That way you can ask informed questions, and that way you can really just sort of show them that you belong there. And Google is always a great asset for that. Google everything. Okay, the knowledge is out there. Why not go get it? So let's talk about some questions to expect. All right. So tell me about yourself. All right. What do y'all think you should talk about when someone says, tell me about yourself? Well, y'all tell me. How do you start off? Evan, I'll ask you since you're the first person that I see here on my roster of people. So you go into a job interview and the first thing they ask is, tell me about yourself. What do you tell them?
Tell them like, kind of like I did good in school. I was an honor roll student and whatnot. Like just a brief summary of your life, kind of.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times, what people do whenever the employer says, "Tell me about yourself," they jump right into work stuff. They will immediately jump into talking about work. Okay, this is the one chance for you to get a little bit personal, not a lot personal, right? But just to kind of, it's an icebreaker, just to warm things up. Let them know who they're dealing with. You know, my name's Casey Harmon. You know, from Louisiana. I grew up in Oklahoma though, but I lived in Louisiana full time for the past 13, 14 years. When I'm not at work, I'm out taking pictures. I'm an amateur photographer. I'm out, with my dog at the dog park, or I might be watching a movie. Or you might find me on stage somewhere doing a play. I've got 19 years job experience in various fields across different industries, from anywhere from cashiering to teaching. And I'm just really glad I'm here today, and I hope that we can I'm just looking forward to kind of talking to you about my skills and what I can bring to the company, something like that. And it's okay to write this stuff down beforehand. Look, they're going to ask you these questions, so you can treat it like a script. You can treat it like like an actor memorizing their lines. Some of these questions are going to ask you, tell me about yourself. That's the first one. Like that's the one. That's almost every job interview I've ever been on was tell me about yourself. So have that ready to go. Have that answer in your back pocket and ready to go. Do you have experience doing this kind of work? And again, be honest, yes or no. If it's yes, then talk about it. So yes, I've been in the retail world. I was in the retail world for close to 8 years. Managed several video stores, one with a revenue of over $1 million a year. I have experience in training and labor management and inventory management. I've multiple years experience customer service, things like that. Do you have experience doing this or no? No, I don't. I've really just recently learned about this field. I've done some research. I really just want to get into medical training or pharmacy tech or whatever you're going into. Because I believe it's a chance to grow and a chance to challenge myself in new ways. Why do you want to work here? Money. I need money. Please give me money. No, you don't want to do that, right? Although that is the reason, right? That's the reason anybody wants to work anywhere is money, because we need it. If you don't need money, then you're probably not looking for work. But you want to keep it professional. Why do you want to work here? I see, I've basically, I see what you all do in the community. You've been here a while. I've looked, what your company does. I think they do it really well. I want to be a part of a team that's committed to excellence. I would like to work here because I think that I could be of help. I enjoy helping people. I think that we get a chance to help people at this job. And if you could actually relate everything back, y'all, to customer service, okay? Because think about every job you've had. Peer back into into your memories and think about every job that you've had. At some point, the ultimate result was we have a customer that we need to make happy. Whether you're in retail sales and you're on the front line, whether you are doing something like this, see y'all are my customers. Y'all are my customers. Y'all are people that I want to succeed. And when you succeed, that means that I helped by doing my part. The stuff that you had to go through, the classes you had to go through, you went through me as well, and that was part of your process, right? If I can help you find a job, that's customer service. If you're driving a truck, you have a client that needs that delivery. That's customer service. If you are a pharmacy tech, you have somebody who needs medicine filled. That's customer service. I was a QA technician at a machine shop. Ultimately, somebody was going to get those products that we were making. That's customer service. So you can actually relate everything back to helping people and providing great customer service. And if you talk about that in an interview about why you want to work here, that's another thing that's going to just sort of blow people away, right? Because a lot of folks don't think about it like that. But everything that we do, every job, ultimately is about helping people and providing great service. Everything, every job. Okay, so think about it. Just think about it and frame it like that. What interests you about the position? Again, be honest. What interests you about coming to work here? Why do you want to be a CDL driver? What interests you about being an FBI agent? What interests you about being a medical assistant? And again, they're probably gonna ask that question. I can't answer that one for you. But figure it out. Figure out what interests you about the things that you're trying to do. Okay, what else? Why did you leave your last job? Be honest. Describe the conditions and why you left. Okay. If it's something negative, talk about how you can turn it into something more positive. Okay. Be honest. Do you have plans to continue your education? Okay. An employer is gonna admire your desire to learn, but you're gonna want to also frame your answer in a way that's going to avoid the perception that you're going to be unable to work all your hours. Yes, I do have plans to continue my education. However, I've arranged my schedule in a way that will not interfere with me having a 40-hour work week. And again, be honest with that. You have a role model. Why do you admire that person? I've never been asked this in an interview. I know some people say that they have, though. So again, be honest. Talk about someone that you admire. Talk about someone that you want to model yourself after and why. Be sure and tell them why. Again, you can write these down. You can reference them. You can come up with your own answers. Okay. What are your salary requirements? Be reasonable, but be honest. You need to figure out what you need per month to live on. Look at your money. Look at your bills. Look at your budget. Figure out what you need to be in order to make it. And then ask for that. Be willing to be flexible a little bit, but be willing to maybe adjust your lifestyle a little bit if they can't quite pay you as much as you want. But, you need to be honest, because if you're working, but you're not making enough money to pay your bills and you keep falling behind, then it's not going to work out. Okay. Why should we hire you? I don't know. Shantasia, why should someone hire you? Catching you off guard here.
Because I work how I'm supposed to. Like, I don't know.
Okay. So you work how you're supposed to? Okay. Jerome, why should someone hire you? Why should we hire you?
Because I'm a hard worker and a quick learner.
Okay. All right. Brandisha, why should I hire you?
I'm a hard worker. I'm willing to learn what I have to do and be best at it and be a good teamwork person.
Okay. All right. Evan, why should I hire you?
Scared to try new things and like learn something new.
Okay. Amaya, why should I hire you?
You should hire me because I could do the work and deliver exceptional results of the company. And I also possess a great combination of skills and experience that would make it stand out.
Okay. You all have like some really good answers.
I
Like
like how she
just
did
sort of
that.
like y'all had y'all had like pieces of good answers, okay? Um you need to be honest, okay? And you need more than, a sentence, you know. And again, this practice this. They're going to ask you this question. Why should we hire you? Talk about your skills, okay? Talk about your skills. Talk about what you bring to the table. Talk about why you're the right person for the job. Okay? Um let me tell you a story because I will tell you a thing that happened in my life, and I am sort of surprised that it happened this way, but ultimately it turned out for the best because I did not expect to go into this interview to say what I said there. So after Netflix came along and killed the video store industry, I was sort of kind of afloat, just sort of looking for work. I tried selling insurance for about a year, and I wasn't great at that. I was just trying to find my. I'd been in retail, and I didn't necessarily want to go back to retail, but it's what I knew. And the insurance job wasn't really paying. And in one day, my dad was like, "Hey, look, and my dad had worked at this machine shop for a long time. He said, "Look, they got a quality assurance technician job available at the work." He said, "It's hot, it's sweaty, it's physical labor. There's a lot of math involved. And none of that is really your strong points." My dad was honest. He said, "You don't have experience doing that kind of stuff." I said, "But," I said, want to if you want to talk to somebody about getting the job, I'll let them know that you're interested." But he said, "I can't." Basically, my dad was like, "Hey, I can't go to bat for you with the job because I don't know if you can do it." Quite frankly, I didn't know. I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if I could do it, right? But I said, "Sure, I'll go talk to him. Let's just see what's going on." So, um, I showed up and I'm sitting down. I'm talking to the guy who was doing the interview. His name was Mike. He was the head of QA, and it would basically just be him and I doing QA. He would sort of be my boss, and I would do all the inspecting. And so we start talking about stuff, and he starts talking about the oil and gas industry and about the different things that we made and the machines and the things like that. And y'all, I was lost. I was lost. I had no idea what he was talking about 50% of the time. I just completely stuff was just going over my head. I didn't know a lot of what was happening. But what did I do? I stayed in the conversation. I asked questions. I clarified the process. I talked to him. I tried to stay engaged, and I could tell. He was pretty. He's a pretty cool guy. And at the end of the interview, he said, "Look," he said, "I've got a lot of people that are more qualified than you that want this job. Why should I hire you?" And that took me back. Hmm. Okay. And I thought about it for a second. And it's okay to think. It's okay to think during an interview. You don't always have to have everything right off the bat. And I said, "Well, Mike," I said, "I'm gonna tell you something." I said, "You and I were talking, and I only I understand about 50% of what you're saying with this job. But if you take the time to teach me, if you take the time to train me, I will be the best QA guy you've ever had." And he kind of looked at me and he kind of sat back in his chair and he goes, "Okay, all right, you got the job." And I was just as surprised as he was. I fully expected halfway through that interview that he was just going to be like, dude, you're not it. You're not qualified. And he taught me, and I became a really good QA guy. And the only reason I'm not still there is I didn't get along with the owner of the company, and I decided I wanted to do something different instead of going to work being mad every day. So be honest. Go out on a limb if you have to. Make them remember you. Have good answers for this stuff. Practice this stuff ahead of time. Get ready for that interview and go in there prepared. Remember that you belong there. You belong there. This job is yours. This job is yours to take. And all you have to do is go in and prove to them that their belief in you is correct. And you're going to be okay. Let's talk about some more questions. Good morning, Jashawn. Good morning, Jashawn. Have you ever been convicted of a crime? Be honest. Again, be honest.
You can hear me?
Yes, sir. How are you?
All right.
All right. You want to describe a major challenge you faced and how you handled it. This can be professional. This can be personal. This can be whatever. Okay. They want to see how you handle adversity. They want to see how you handle things when things didn't go well. Okay. What do you expect in a supervisor? I expect honesty and fairness and someone who's willing to take the time to show me exactly what I need to do. What is your biggest strength and weakness? Anybody really like answering this question? I think it's everybody's least favorite. Because you got to think about, I could think about a strength, sure. But a weakness, I don't want to tell them any weaknesses. Want to get hired. I can't think of any weaknesses. Okay. We all have good things we're good at. We all have things that are opportunities for improvement. I'll combine mine. I think my biggest strength is also kind of feeds into my weakness a little bit. My biggest strength, I lead with my heart. I'm very much, I'm a softie. I feel deeply for anybody that comes in here looking for service, anybody that comes in here looking for help. I want to help them. And that makes me a good helper. It makes me good at sitting down and helping people get to where they need to be. But my biggest weakness is also the same thing, because when I can't help someone, or when we don't have the money to help anybody, or we can't provide services for somebody, it can kind of, get me down a little bit. So, you kind of have to balance the two. But what are your biggest strengths? What are your biggest weaknesses? You don't have to answer me. You don't have to say that out loud. But I want you to think about it, because you're going to get asked this question. You're going to get asked this question. So figure out a way to frame it that that shows that, hey, it's something that you're working on, or something that you realize is a weakness and things, and it's something that you're trying to do better at. Be honest. Okay, be honest and be open. You can think about, what if, maybe it's your computer skills, maybe it's your personality, maybe it's, whatever. Talk to them, say, look, this is my biggest strength, this is my biggest weakness, but here's how I'm trying to improve. Okay. You're going to get asked that question. I promise you. Okay. Be ready to answer it. Okay. Then tips to a winning interview. Practice good nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication, also known as what?
Language.
Body language. Very good. Dress for the job or company. Listen, don't just hear. Okay? Again, we're talking about active listening. What's the difference? There's active listening and passive listening. Passive listening is you're in high school. It's the last day before Christmas break. You're going to be out for 2 weeks. It's 10 minutes until the bell, and the teacher is still teaching. What they're saying, you are not going to remember when you come back in 2 weeks. It is not entering your head. It is hitting your ears and then falling down and getting lost somewhere else. That's passive listening. Active listening is my eyes are open. I'm looking at you. You're looking at me. We're engaged in conversation. You know, you're saying things. I'm saying things. We're formulating opinions based on what each other's saying. We are both actively listening to each other. Active listening is a huge skill. It's a thing that everybody needs to work on, including me. We all could stand to listen a little bit more. Practice that active listening. Be engaged in conversation. One of the best ways to be engaged in conversation is to put your cell phone down. Put your cell phone down. I used to go to breakfast with my friends every Sunday, and we had a thing. We'd all put our phones in the middle of the table because we wanted to connect with one another. We wanted to sit and look at each other in the face when we were talking to each other. It's an interesting thing. And look, and I'm not going to be a guy who rails against cell phones. You know, I like my cell phone just as much as everybody else. But sometimes we need to put them down and really be in the moment and be present with someone and communicate with them in a meaningful way. Okay, so actively listen. Don't talk too much or too little. Okay, this is big. This is huge. Okay, you don't want to show up to a job interview and not talk.
I'm sorry I'm late. This is Kellen Thomas.
All right, Kellen. You don't want to show up to an interview and not talk. You don't want them to have to pull information out of you. Okay? But at the same time, you don't want to go in and just talk. Right? Find that balance. I'm sure some of you all are talkers and some of you aren't. I'm a talker. I have a tendency to talk a lot during job interviews. It's something I kind of have to pull back a little bit. I love talking. I love relating to people. I love telling stories. But sometimes you kind of have to dial it back some. But if I had to pick, if I'm interviewing you, I'd rather someone who talked more than someone who talked less, though. I don't ever want to feel like I'm having to drag information out of somebody. Okay? You want to avoid being too familiar. You don't go in and, high five or fist bump and, talk about their pictures of their kids that they have on their desk or whatnot. You want to, again, they're not out to get you. They're not your enemy, but you aren't friends just yet. You just keep it on a professional level. Nice firm handshake, fist bump, whatever it is that we're doing because of COVID. Smile, be engaging, but don't be overly familiar. Okay, you want to use appropriate language. No cursing in the interview. No, you want to hopefully make sure your grammar is correct. You want to speak as clearly and communicate as effectively as possible. Don't be too cocky. We talked about this yesterday. You can be confident. All of you can be confident. All of you can go in with your body language, with your nonverbal communication working. Shoulders back, head up, eyes forward, smile on your face. You belong there. If they've called you in for that interview, you belong there. You can be confident that you belong in that space. But don't be too cocky. Don't be arrogant. Don't go in there and just brag constantly. Okay. Remember, life is about relationships. You want to be someone that somebody wants to be around. Nobody wants to be around a cocky person. Okay. Smile, have faith in yourself. Be confident, but do not be cocky. Take care to answer questions. Again, you don't have to answer immediately. You can think about it. They're trying to get a sense of your past behavior. So you want to make sure that you're answering effectively. You want to make sure that you're communicating that behavior to them. Okay? So take care and be careful when you're answering questions. Avoid appearing desperate. Okay, you don't want to be the please hire me approach, right? You want to maintain your 3 C's. Cool. That's hard for me. I am decidedly not cool, but I try to be cool. Calm. I'm pretty calm. And confident. Okay. Keep your cool. Remain calm. Be confident. I think everybody in here can do those 3 things because you all seem pretty cool to me. I've talked to you a little bit. We all seem pretty calm. No one's in here cutting up. I think you can all be pretty confident. Okay. You know you can do this. You know you can get this job done. So make sure the interviewer believes you can too. And then ask questions. And we talked about that already. Okay. Listen to what is asked of you in the interview and ask questions based on some of the things that you're asked. If you're wondering what to ask, and also definitely the how to succeed, what does success look like to you? That is 100% a great question. Okay. So do we have any questions or comments about the interview process? Anybody? All right. Well, good. So we're going to move on. Hold on one second.